Mm. All right. Everyone is looking for a divine experience. The nature of everything that God creates is to be enveloped into a state of life greater than itself. So most of the inanimate, like water, for example, is absorbed in a state of life greater than itself, which is vegetation. Most of vegetation is absorbed in a life greater than itself, and that is the animal kingdom. And the animal, most of it, is used by being absorbed in human. Now, some people want to make and suggest, you know, human and animal are the same. That would be a pity if you think that way. But in fact, animals don't consume humans. Humans consume animals because they get elevated to a greater form of life as a result. So what's left with the human? How do they get absorbed into something greater than themselves? Of course, the divine. And hence, everyone is looking for a divine experience. Now, some might call it a God experience, and others might just call it, you know, something more lofty than, been there, done that, the ho hum of daily life, but something that is like lifts us up, some greater sense of existence. And, whatever that might be, we call that, or we seek to find a divine experience. What is your divine experience? Where do you sense something loftier than, you know, the the doldrum of day in, day out, been there, done that, and there's nothing that is a sense of something more than that you become subsumed in, absorbed into something greater than oneself. And hence to connect with what we learned in the Torah portion just now about false prophets, as the Torah warns us that you will experience false prophets. Not that what they say, not that their wonders are not wonders. They have the power to do things that others don't. And as the verse says in the Torah, God gave it to them, that power. Why? To see if we will remain faithful. Why would we not remain faithful to God? Because it could be the day in, day out, fulfillment of the mitzvahs of the Torah may not be so exciting, may not be a feeling that's divine. But then comes this prophet who has great powers and shows the powers to me and to others. And I feel uplifted. I feel divinity. And because I feel that divinity, I'm drawn to it. And I end up, as the Torah calls it, following the false prophet because he's leading me astray from the Jewish way, which the Jewish way, of course, is following Torah and mitzvahs, following the mitzvahs that God has given us in the Torah through Moses, and following proper prophets uh, that come after Moses, after Moshe Rabbeinu. Yeah. So, where's your divine experience? Seeking something more. being uplifted. Where might that be? Welcome to Tanya today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zuchen Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We begin today chapter 8, not chapter 8, letter number 8. These are the holy letters from the Alter Rebbe that he sent to his followers, Chassidim, to inspire them, to encourage them. Right? He 200 years ago didn't have Zoom, didn't have social media, didn't have a way that you could see another and engage with another. And therefore, how did you connect with people that were there not in front of you? You sent a letter. So these are letters, and that stand forever in teaching us. All right. So in the morning prayers that we say a term that says Zarei Tzedakos Matzmiach Yeshuais, and the Kel Adain bam bam Zarei Tzedakos Matzmiach Yeshuais, which means God, He sows tzedakos. Tzedakos means two things: righteousness and charity, because charity is from the word righteous, tzedakah, tzedek, righteousness. And He causes deliverance to sprout forth. So the Alter Rebbe says, we need to understand this term, to sow, in relationship to charity. What does it mean? We understand taking a seed and putting it into the ground, and what that means. That's called sowing a seed into the ground, and hopefully with a fertile land and proper care, it will grow into something. What does that mean in reference to charity? Right. Likewise, the verse says, sow for yourselves for tzedakah and reap according to the measure of your kindness. What does that mean? So this will be understood by a teachings in the Talmud that tells us that Rebbe Elazar, this sage, Elazar, he would give a coin to the poor before his prayers, and then he would stand in prayer before God. As the verse says in Tehillim, in Psalms, from King David's Psalms, it says, through tzedek will I behold your face. In other words, through tzedek, righteousness, related to the word tzedakah, right? In other words, I'll be righteous by being charitable. That's how I will behold the face of God during prayer. Okay, so what does this mean over here? What does it mean that prayer is seeing God's face? And what does it mean that charity is necessary as a preface before we behold the face of God? Right? Again, what does that mean, the face of God, right? So, the manifestation of divinity, seeking out the divine, is revealed to the person in their devotion during prayer. Each individual according to what they're capable, right? It's granted as divine charity. What does that mean? God's loving kindness for those who have the sense of presence of God in prayer. Wow. In other words, God is present right now. He's present at every moment throughout our day. God is there, right? What does that mean? It means whether the higher worlds, the lower worlds, before God, there's nothing but Him. We're absorbed in His light, right now, so right now, we can, in our mind, understand the concept, right? That everything's absorbed in him. The create, not just the higher worlds where there's, soulful souls, angels, and the like, right? Not just, but even the lower worlds where they're more removed, like in this world, we're truly absorbed in as a light of God within God. And that light radiates in all worlds. And who gets to experience that light? Those who have a sense of the fear of God, which means the presence of God. As we've learned many times, fear of God means that you sense God's presence. Just like when you're alone in a room, you might act one way, but when someone walks in, especially someone who is important to you, you kind of sit up straight and, act differently. Why? Presence of an individual that you respect, that you revere. You act differently. So when those who have the sense of presence of God, and they meditate upon him, upon not just God, but about his name, and they desire to worship him. And where is true worship? Prayer, right? Why? As it says, God will enlighten my darkness. Now there's the light of God in my darkness. Where's my darkness? The outer layers of the heart, right? There's a darkness. Because in the outer layers of my heart, I'm self absorbed. I'm self absorbed. I'm absorbed in me. Now, it could be good things about me. It could be dark things about me. It doesn't make a difference, really. It's all about me, right? I become the center of the universe. That's called darkness. So, in such a place, God's not there. You don't experience it. But prayer is about getting into your heart, getting into a deeper place in your heart, right? Where God can illuminate your heart. That's unique about prayer. Torah study is God illuminating my mind, that I get with my mind an understanding of the truth of God. That God is present right now. That God, I am absorbed right now in the light of God. Oh, I get that intellectually, but that doesn't mean I experience it now. I know it. And the more we learn about it, the more we meditate upon it, when it comes to prayer in particular, the more I can experience that truth. That's what prayer is, to experience the divine truth that I am not separate from God, but a part of God. Not just I, but all of creation is as such. To have that experience, not just the knowledge is that we're getting it right now. We're getting the awareness of this. We're getting the knowledge of this. We're not getting the experience of this. That's in a time of prayer. Because prayer, as we said, is in the heart. It's about the heart, the service of the heart. True worship isn't at that time. And that God's kindness is that it allows me to experience this truth of how I am bound up and absorbed with him and a part of him. Powerful. Wow. Now, how do we get to this, that we can experience this? So in tomorrow's class, we'll understand. And we'll understand how tzedakah, charity, plays an important role to be able to experience. Imagine every morning you take a coin, Put it into a charity box, into the pushka, as we call it in Yiddish. Put it into, and then go to pray. That's where we're going with this. More to come. More to come. But the important point over here is the important point over here is that the true divine experience, that we experience a sense of connection, a sense of being absorbed into something greater than myself and divine. That's what prayer allows us, that experience. How do we get there? How can that be something truly real for us? Okay, more to come. That's where we're at. Any questions? Any comments? So I want to remind everybody that I see some comments, I see some statements that some people make, politics or other religions trying to push other religions. There's no place for that here. You think you come and with a troll as a troll to come and push your thing. Whoever is here by my class or the Tanya class, my class, I'm just teaching the alternatives class, is by choice to learn from our teacher, the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe, and they're choosing to do that. They don't want to deal with anybody's personal politics. They don't want to deal with another faith or religion that a person has and trying to dump it on people that are here. So I know for some people they think they're a God mission. It's a false God, a false mission. Go make your class, go bring your teachings in your own place, in your own, there's plenty of places on in social media that you can do that. Make plenty of platforms and many ways that you can do that. Do that. And whoever wants to come will come. But in our Tanya class, to bring up these things and to try to is first of all, don't think you're affecting anybody. Because the ones who come here to learn Tanya, it's not working in any case. All it is making your perspective that you're coming from not only look foolish, but like childish, but like, who's interested in such a path, in such a way that they show no respect? So what you're trying to do is actually doing the opposite. Just listen into the class and take whatever you want to take from it that's good for you and positive. That would be what we call menschlich, decent person. All right, folks. God bless you all. Rambam coming up. Thank you.